The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back, comfortably zoned in Athleticville with Jerry Feitelberg, and Nancy Finley has an interview that she did the other day with one of the greatest A's fans ever, and I'm going to attach that to this interview with Jerry, and we're going to have a very nice week of talking A's baseball on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tyko. Jerry's here. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm always doing great. I'm enjoying watching the A's play baseball, and what a reversal of fortunes for this club. In 2014, if you recall, they had the best record in baseball on August 1st. And then they barely made the playoffs and were eliminated in extra innings by the Kansas City Royals. They made trades for Samaja and Hamill, and they got John Lester. They gave up Cespedes, and the trade for Cespedes seemed to undo the club. And then they had Lester left, Samaja left, Hamill got traded, and they had three dismal seasons. They traded Josh Donaldson to Toronto. He was MVP in 2015. And the club finished last in the division 3 years in a row. And so many people picked this team to be last again. And they didn't start out like a ball of fire. They weren't terrible. They were 2 games under 500 when they got hot, and they have stayed hot. And they have the best record in baseball since June 16th. And they haven't stopped. They just go out and keep on winning. They're methodical. They're confident. They play the baseball the right way. Their manager's been with them for many, many years. He knows how to handle the players, tells them what their roles are, what he expects of them. And the fans and the Oakland fans are just enjoying a renaissance of this franchise this year.
And you know what? I heard an extended interview on the MLB.com station with Billy Beane this morning. And he's just as surprised by all of this as I am. The only person I know that wasn't surprised is you yourself, sir. You saw this
was
coming.
Confident. I was confident. I saw they brought up the young players at the end of last season. Matt Olsman, Matt Chapman. Jed Lowry had a great rebound year last year. I think he ended up the season with 49 doubles. And he looked like why the Red Sox had him as a high draft choice way back when he signed with the Red Sox, when he started his career many, many years ago. But he was well. The outfield was not as set. They were using Matt Joyce in left field, maybe platooning him with Mark Canha. I forgot who was out in right field. The center field wasn't anything special. But this year they got good outfield play. They traded for Stephen Piscotty, and he's given them great play in right field. Center field, they had Mark Canha play in center field. I don't think he had ever played, and he's been doing a decent job. They had Dustin Fowler, who came over from the Yankees, and Fowler, they gave him an extended period, but he just couldn't get his batting average up over 220, so they sent him back to Nashville. And then they brought up the sensational Ramon Laureano, who's been an absolute find for the A's in center field. He's good defensively.
I can't believe how good this guy is. He's a 5-tool player. He's a terrific fielder. He's got a gun for an arm. And he gets on base. He's fast. He's got punch. And not just punch, he's got some power. I think he's hit 2 home runs twice.
He's got five on the season. Yeah, he's got pop in his bat. And he's not a defensive liability out there in center field.
Not at all a defensive liability. And,
not at all.
So that looks nice, but the big story is them managing to rebuild a pitching staff twice. Talk about the injuries that they had initially, and they continue. How many pitchers?
They had
Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, when they started the season, or in spring training, they had penciled in Kendall Graveman as their ace. Sean Manaea would be number 2. Jarrell Cotton would be number 3. They were going to bring up A.J. Puck, the lefty, and they were probably going to go with Andrew Triggs. And they had a couple other. Paul Blackburn was also on. So they had all 6 of those guys. Graveman, Puck, Gossett, all had Tommy John surgery. One other player had it also. I can't think of who it was. And in addition, their ace, Sean Manaea, is going to have surgery next Tuesday, I believe, for shoulder impingement, and he's going to be out for the entire 2019 season. So all 5 of their starting pitchers are on the shelf. And they had to rebuild the rotation. They did it just by scratch. Give you a good example. They didn't have enough pitchers at AAA, so they signed Jackson to pitch at AAA. Right.
And lo and behold, this guy comes up and pulls a terrific year out of his posterity.
Posterior,
if you will, and he surprised Billy Beane, and not just that Mingden got hurt. There's another one. You know what saved them though? They went out and got to add to a very, very good bullpen. They went out and got Rodney and Familia, and
their bullpen's probably the best in the American League. They got Sean Kelly from Washington, who's great. They got Lou Trevino. They brought up the rookie, who's been giving them great performances. They have Fernando Rodney for the 7th inning, Juris Familia for the 8th, and Blake Trinan for the 9th. They have three tremendous closers in their bullpen. They've
got Pettit too. They've got Pettit as well.
Oh yes, he's the long reliever, and he's been outstanding. They only have one lefty in the bullpen, and that's Ryan Buchter. So they're hurting from the left side. And also on the starting rotation, you forgot 2 guys that they brought in, 2 veterans that had started their career with the A's and now went to other teams, Trevor Cahill and Brett Anderson. Anderson's coming off with DL today and will pitch tonight in Baltimore. So they'll have a lefty in the rotation. But they really don't have a 5th starter. They have Mike Byers, who they got on a trade. They got Edwin Jackson, Cahill, and Anderson. And what they've been doing
have the guts, though, to fill that 5th starting role with the old Tampa Bay Rays, the way they're doing it. Tampa Rays is starting a bullpen guy, and they just try to get as many innings as they can. It's September, so they've got a whole bench, a whole bullpen full of pitchers, and they've been very successful. Got to credit Bob Melvin a lot. This guy is
for whatever reason, they like bringing in Liam Hendricks for 1 inning to pitch the 1st inning, and he seems to do okay. Last night they brought in Daniel Mengden, and he went 5 scoreless and hitless innings, and he gave him 5 innings in the last game. Now they can do that with Chris Bassett. If they get 4 or 5 innings, so all they need is to get into their bullpen. With Kelly, Yusmeiro Petit, Trevino, and then the 3 closers. They can go. A starter only has to go 5 innings. They got bullpen for the rest of it, and they're doing very, very well. They have now won 89 games, and I think we mentioned it earlier. Sports Illustrated picked them to win 67. They won 22 more than what the experts picked them for. And one of the other key additions that they added was Jonathan LaCroix. LaCroix was on was an all-star catcher with the Milwaukee Brewers. He got traded to the Rangers, and then he went to the Rockies, and he was a free agent. No one signed him. No one wanted him. But Billy Beane had the smarts, and David Force had the smarts to sign him. And he has just been terrific with handling this rotation and the pitching.
He also made one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen a catcher make. There was literally a wild pitch on his crosshand side, on his right-hand side, and he just dove out of the batter's box for that ball, and I don't know how he got it. I'm going to look for some replays of that. One of the best defensive plays I've seen of the season, and it was a key moment too.
Sure. And he throws out runners. He's very good.
And he handles the pitching staff, as you say, and you got to give Billy Beane a lot of credit. He said today that he's surprised. That's my point. Is that he said, and I quote, "No one could have expected this to have happened this soon."
And no one did. And I think the turning point for the season came when they went on that 10-game road trip early in the season. They went to New York, Boston, and Toronto, and they won 7 games out of the 10. They were hitting the ball out of the park. They got great pitching, and they almost won 8 out of the 10. There was one game in New York that they could have won. So they got their confidence. They took the season series from the Red Sox 4 games to 2. They had been getting killed by Houston earlier in the season. Now they played them fairly even, and it's a contest. You remember they went down to Houston. They took 3 out of 4 from Houston, and they almost swept them except for that crazy play where the guy struck out, and when LaCroix went to tag him, the guy jumped back. LaCroix couldn't tag him, and then when he threw down at first, the ball went into right field or hit the runner, and the run scored, and that was the game. But they showed that they can play with the big boys, and they don't fear the Yankees, they don't fear the Red Sox, and they don't fear the Houston Astros. And they are the team that nobody wants to play in the playoffs.
And they pretty much caught the Yankees too, which surprises the hell out of them, let me tell you.
One game back of the Yankees. They were 11 games back at one point in the race for the first wild card spot. And that is big, because if they have to fly from here to New York, and then just for one game, and traveling from west to east, it's much easier to go east or west, stay up a couple hours and get your normal sleep. But when you go fly from here to the East Coast, there's that 3-hour time difference. You get there at 5 in the afternoon, it's 8 o'clock at night, and conversely,
when you're facing an adversarial crowd.
Yeah, time
makes
a
big
bad
difference
time difference
in a one-game playoff, one-game playoff, such as this is.
Yeah, and when the Yankees were here a couple of weeks ago, the Yankee fans were as obnoxious as ever. You would have thought that the Yankees took all 3 games the way the fans were chanting Yankees, Yankees, Yankees. And the Oakland fans said, yeah, but we won 2 out of 3. They're cool, laid back. They said, no big deal. You want to chant? Go ahead. But it's a different atmosphere here in Oakland. Totally different than in New York.
No question. What's interesting? You mentioned Fowler, and the A's got him for Sonny Gray. And there was a deal that turned out not good for both teams. You've heard, good deal for both teams, not good for both teams. I think. Well,
there's a pitch. They got a pitcher too by the name of Caprolian, and he hasn't pitched this year because he had Tommy John surgery. We'll see how he should be ready for the season next year, and we'll see how that pans out. And as you mentioned, it hasn't turned out for either team. Fowler has not been.
Laureano seized the moment. He's the center fielder.
Yeah.
And will be for a long time. That's how baseball goes. Sometimes you get the breaks. You're hot when you need to be. This, that, and the other thing. But I just wonder what made Houston sour on this guy.
Well, they had George Springer. They probably didn't have any room for him in their lineup. They got an all-star in George Springer playing center field. They had Reddick in left and right field, and Marwin Gonzalez. Now, maybe Marwin Gonzalez is a free agent at the end of the year, so maybe they could have moved Springer over to left or whatever. But I don't know what their thinking was when they made the trade. I just think they didn't have a spot for him, and they needed someone else.
And I'm sure they didn't think he'd be this good.
Yeah, exactly. You just never know with talent.
Yeah.
You just never know. You've seen number one draft picks pan out, never make it, and then you've seen guys who are a 32nd round draft pick who gets into the minor league system and develops. And that's
we were talking about him a few minutes ago. He did an interview, and he was the poster boy for first-round draft choices that didn't make it. Billy Beane was just that with the New York Mets.
Sure. Yeah,
and
number one draft
pick. He fizzled out horribly. And so who does know? Other than who's on first.
and anytime you want to laugh, go to YouTube and bring up the Abbott and Costello routine. It's good every time you watch it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And it was so really word for word. If you look at comedy writing, how it breaks down, it is so well timed and so well put together. It is an absolute classic, and it makes you laugh every time. And
oh yeah, Bud Abbott was a master straight man, and look, the timing was just perfect. There were no blips, no nothing. They just smooth as and they said every time they did it slightly differently.
Well, it's like Frank Sinatra singing "My Way," slightly differently in each time he sings it. So, but I think he did it for his own smile at the world, so somebody couldn't sing along with him and hit every note with him.
Could be.
Yeah. So, what's coming up with the A's? I think we haven't yet. Are we counting our chickens before they hatch? They haven't had a down week since, let's say, early June.
No, they're playing very well. They've only lost
They are
two
playing
series.
very well.
They've only lost two series in the last, 22 series. They've only lost two. They won 17, lost 2, and tied 3, split 3. So that's phenomenal baseball. They're getting great mileage out of their pitchers, and even when the pitchers don't have a good start, Cahill's gone on the road, does not pitch well. He's gone a couple of these 2+ innings and got knocked out of the box. And Melvin brings in Petit, and Petit straightens out, or he'll bring in Bassett or another long guy to do it, and then the bullpen takes over, and the A's rally. They've owned the 8th inning all year. They're just dangerous. They got guys that hit the ball of the park. They got 5 guys in the lineup with over 20 homers. They got hit over 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
How about Chapman?
Chapman and Matt Olson are acrobats at their position. They are absolutely terrific. And Simeon has come on. I've said this before. All season long, he improves and continues to improve. They are now what I consider to be strong up the middle. And that's a big factor in a team's success. Historically, you have a strong catcher, strong double play combination, and a damn good outfielder, center fielder who can go get the ball. And says a lot. Pitching. If they didn't have this great a bullpen, I would have said lights out a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I did say lights out a long time ago, and you were the one that had the faith. So I appreciate that in you. Nice call, Jerry. Are you there? All right, lost Jerry for a while, but he'll be back. We'll take a little station break. I'll push the button and come back in a bit. It's the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, Athletic Baseball. We may, if we don't get Jerry back, go right to Nancy Finley, who has a terrific interview with an all-time great A's fan. So stick around. We'll get Jerry back, or we won't, and we'll go to Nancy. Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, I'm Ralph Tyko, the weak link of it all. Adios, everybody.
Hello. Hello.
Hey, there's Jerry. Got you back, my friend. How are you?
Yep. I'm doing great. Beautiful day today right now, and looking forward to continuing our conversation.
Yeah, it was an up one. We got the A's on a downhill run to the playoffs. Stalled a little bit last night, but such is life. Such is life. They had a chance to win it in the ninth. And, you know, when you talk baseball, if you put yourself in a position of winning the game, you can't really complain. The fans can't really complain about, was it a good game, was it a bad game. They were in it. And,
you never know in baseball. That's what's the magic of baseball. When you can have a hapless, lowly team like the Baltimore Orioles hold on and hold off the A's, it's just amazing. And that happens. And so a team that's won, 42 games this year compared to the A's 89, they come up, their pitching holds these guys that can hit the ball out of the park. It's just amazing.
You know, on this station, we analyze teams, divisions, leagues all the time. And we use a lot of stats. We use a lot of common sense, a lot of hyperbole. That word escapes me. But generally when we talk, we never assume that because a team is playing another team down the stretch, a contender, and they have what appears to be a weak team that they're going to play, we never just check off the game and say, well, we got, as you say, Baltimore's coming up, Kansas City's coming up. Those are teams that you can put in the book. Well, you really can't, because what they call pennant killers, you know, teams that have nothing to lose. They play, when you have nothing to lose, you play relaxed. It could be the biggest game of the year, trying to be a killer. So you can't determine who's going to hurt you down the stretch as a team just simply because they haven't played well in the past. What I'm saying is
that's so true.
Yeah, they're going to be relaxed. They're going to give you what you don't expect. Let's put it that way. And especially in September, you got rookies being called up. You got people playing for jobs next year. It's what makes pennant races very, very interesting. Who the matchups are.
And it's a credit to Buck Showalter and to the managers of these crappy teams that they tell the players go out and play hard and they don't give in. And that makes it more interesting. It really does.
We were talking before about expectations in the season. I don't think there was anybody that picked the A's over Baltimore earlier on. I mean, they knew Baltimore wasn't going to be that great, and they didn't know the A's were going to be that great. So You never know.
It reminded me what happened to the A's in '93. The A's were in the playoffs in 1992. They had traded Canseco, which was kind of shocking, in around September 1st, and they got back Ruth and Sierra, and they got some pitching, and they were in the playoffs. And they lost to Toronto, and in '93, all the pitchers got old and fell apart, and that's what happened to Baltimore. All the pitching, their whole rotation was gone, and their only pitcher that they had they had two pitchers, Kevin Gossman, and he got traded to Atlanta, and Chris Tillman, and Tillman appears to have reached the end of the road, and he was released. So, and their pitching was just terrible all year, and their bullpen, they traded O'Day, and they traded Britton. So they gave up on the season early, and of course they traded Machado and Scope, which was the shortstop and second baseman, which was the heart and soul of the club. They were going to be free agents, so they got rid of them. So it was.
I think Billy Beane calls that churnin.
But even with all that turmoil on the club, they played the Yankees tough all year. I think they split most of the games with the Yankees. They weren't an easy touch for New York. So go figure.
Yeah. A's got a little bad news. Cahill is back on the shelf, believe it or not. As if they have.
Yeah, I think he's going to miss one. We discussed that yesterday. I think he's going to miss one turn, and they're going to do a bullpenning game tomorrow against the Tampa Bay Rays. And they're hoping that he'll have two more starts. Well, we only have one more homestand, but with 6 games with the Angels and the Twins, and then the A's are done for the year. They finished the season on the road against Seattle and the Angels. So they hope to get him healthy for a couple of starts at home. And Cahill, I think, has been on the DL twice this year. Anderson's been on twice. All the pitchers have been beaten up. Unbelievable what's happened to this staff.
Worse, almost as bad as the Mets. I almost said worse than the Mets, but the Mets had an incredibly bad 2-3 year streak of injuries. Just personally, what do you think is causing so many pitching sets? Is it not enough work, too many innings, pitchers coddled?
No,
it's not a right or wrong question anymore. It's just your opinion.
I don't know. I think that they're spending too much time in the weight room and not doing enough running. Those are two factors that could be affecting what's happening to them. Lifting weights, you can build muscle mass for sure, but it doesn't help the tendons, and you have to develop arm strength. And maybe they're not spending enough time doing that. I don't know. It's just unbelievable the amount of Tommy John surgeries that have been performed this year throughout Major League Baseball. It's so sad to see a guy go down for a whole year, but it happens.
Does it go back to youth baseball when these kids are used and overused by coaches and traveling teams and no off days anymore, off parts of the season, the kids playing 24/7?
Could be. I don't know. I know that I remember back when we were kids and they had the 154 game schedule. They had a 4-man rotation, and guys like Robin Robinson, Warren Spahn, Juan Marichal, they would make 35 to 40 starts during the course of the season. They'd throw over close to 300 innings a year, and they'd have something like 1 year. Roberts had 39 starts in 26 complete games. Johnny Sain had 40 starts 1 year, 28 complete games. And so these guys did a lot of pitching, and I don't recall them having arm injuries or Tommy John surgery. Maybe they did, and they didn't have Tommy John surgery back then, so maybe they were done with baseball. That happens. I remember the Red Sox
Jerry,
had
you hit on something that A's pitching guru Wes Stock, who was on these airwaves a couple of weeks ago, he mentioned that too. Running, when he was coming up, when he was coaching back in the 80s and 90s, there was teams had running programs where players would build up their leg strength, and obviously, strong legs takes away the pressure on the arm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and the best example was Tom Seaver. You know, his knee was almost touching the ground when he delivered, and you could see he was gaining his strength from his legs, not from his arms. He wasn't putting that much pressure on his arms. So
right.
yeah, that's very important. Very important to run. I think the pitchers used to shag flies out in the outfield during batting practice. They don't do that anymore. Don't know what they do anymore. And yet, when I was with the club, I'd be down in the clubhouse while the game is going on, and I would see the trainers working with them, stretching out the muscles, and doing a series of exercises so that the guys could throw across their body. And they were lengthening their arms and doing all kinds of exercises with them, and putting on heat packs and cold packs and doing whatever they had to do to loosen up the shoulder, loosen up the muscles, and get ready to play the game. And I know it's hard to believe, but a lot of the relievers that knew they were going to be coming into the game late in the game, they wouldn't be sitting out in the cold. And it gets cold in Oakland, as you know. They wouldn't be sitting out in the bullpen from the first inning on and expect to get warmed up by the 8th or ninth inning. A lot of times, and especially when Eckersley was there, Eck would stay down in the clubhouse till about the 7th inning before going down to the bullpen. And he would stay warm. He wouldn't be frozen. So maybe that was a factor in his effectiveness. It's hard to say. But, that's a little inside baseball for you.
All right. Hey, Jerry, thank you for completing last night's show. We finally got it together technically, and
yep.
we're gonna have our Nancy Finley is learning the art of interviewing, and she's got a guest. And we'll hear her after we say adios. So, thank you, Jerry.
I have a question. When you talk to Nancy, I have one of our readers. Kurt, I do know Kurt Gillespie. He used to work over at the Coliseum. Kurt had a question. They haven't seen Harvey for a while. And he wanted to know if anyone knew if they had done away with Harvey for the year. They brought him out every game, every home game so far this year. So,
okay, well, this interview is on tape with Nancy, but how about we ask her in person next week, same time, same bat station?
That would be great. And I also had I sent you a text about having lunch next Tuesday in Alameda.
Oh, that would be terrific.
Okay, I'll send you. I have to see a doctor about 10 o'clock or so, 10 to 10:30, and we can meet at our usual spot, and we'll set a time, and I will see you next Tuesday.
Beautiful. We'll try to get Michael Duca to join us if he possibly can.
That would be wonderful too. Yeah, if we can do that, it'd be great.
Good.
Fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Be well.
All righty.
And if you're listening out there, we really appreciate it. You can do us a solid. If you like our offerings, this one or anything on the network, please box up some gently used or even new children's books and take them down to the Head Start program wherever you are. As you know, kids need to read. They need to get their imagination going. They need to get their noses out of the devices and the computers and develop an imagination and become school ready. It really behooves one to give to the Head Start program because the kids that are being benefited do need it the very most. So do us a favor, get down there with some books, get some neighborhood programs going, and it would be great because We need these kids for our future. We need the future to look better than the present. So, thank you again, Jerry. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Nancy coming up. Adios.
Bye-bye.
We are back. A's baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. And the woman, the myth, the legend, Nancy Finley. How are you, Nancy?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you, Ralph. Glad to be here.
You've got a special guest, and
yes.
I'm going to ask you to introduce him and take over, and as usual, enjoy.
My guest today is Rob Hallibone, who is a longtime A's fan and a great memory. I asked Rob if I need a date verified. That's just how good of a memory he has for anything relating to the A's. And I wanted to introduce my friend Rob Hallibone. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nancy.
You were at last Wednesday's A's Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very nice ceremony, and it was nice to see all the old age legends honored.
And Finley, Charlie.
Yes, it's about time.
Yeah, my dad will be next, but this was
so.
still Charlie. What did you think? What did you think of the inductees?
Oh, I mean, as a fan, I've been watching all those players for years, and I thought it's nice to see Oakland honoring their past stars.
Did you like how they did the first pitch?
Oh yeah, that was nice.
It certainly changes.
It's fun at the ballpark again.
Yeah.
Especially with the A's playing so well right now.
I know.
I know. Kind of a rough couple of years, but it's looking real good, and it looks like the ownership's committed to this team. So
yes,
it's exciting times.
I had a chance to speak and meet Mr. Fisher in person, and really, really nice man. And it does feel to me like he has the team's interest first.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I like. They haven't got rid of any of the players, and they brought up some real good young players, and they signed some players, some relief pitchers that are real good. So looks like they're making a good run.
Cultivation.
Yeah.
It's keeping them and hoping that they form a family unit like we had.
Oh yeah.
Even if they fight. Hey, that's family, right? But
yeah.
With the I know the attendance is pretty much on an even keel, but I wondered if that's just because of how many seats they have compared to
yeah, I mean, so weeknight games are tough because people work and, you know, it's hard to go to the game, but I think, you know, with them winning, more people are showing up. And their team president, Dave Cavill, has really done a lot of exciting things to get the players going and get the fans to go to the games.
Yes, it's been good on weeknights considering what I've seen in the past, but it does go up and down. I did my college thesis on that, and I didn't really come to a conclusion.
Right.
It's just, it does depend too, I think, on the atmosphere. Also, people can get in free park. The people don't have to pay to park if they take BART.
Right. So yeah, with the Coliseum being located right next to BART, it's easy access.
I noticed that long lines coming off BART.
Yeah.
And
then the A's have a lot of, they do discounted parking, and they have nights where you get free parking. So they're doing their best to get the fans to go.
That's good to know. That's good to know about the discounted parking.
Yeah.
Because you're a big Raiders fan, too.
Yeah, I'm a big Raiders fan, but very sad they're leaving us once again.
But the A's are staying in Oakland.
The A's are making a real good attempt to find the ballpark in Oakland. So Cabell's just working crazy trying to get that done, and they're headed in the right direction.
Yes, even if it's a new ballpark, they still want it to be in Oakland, which is just so different from what we heard 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
What of the players now this season, who do you see as helping to lead the team?
Oh, Matt Chapman, the way he's playing third base, I haven't seen a player play third base for a while like that. I mean, Chavez did too, but I like his hustle, and he's coming around batting too, and they have him batting in the number 2 spot.
He's a star, because I see that name a lot.
Yeah, and then Chris Davis is real fun to watch too. His home runs. He's had 3 years straight with over 40 home runs. No A's player in history has ever done that. You'd have to go back to Jimmy Fox for the Philadelphia A's to match that.
Oh my God!
And I really like their young center fielder, Ramon Laureano. He's looking like a 5-tool player, and they have him batting leadoff, and he's really added a spark to the team.
Oh, I see. This show is about the past too. I really like how you compare to the Philadelphia A's. That's
oh yeah.
That's
the old Connie Mack teams.
Oh my.
But it's kind of hard to compare different eras, but
right.
Yeah, they were
pretty
great.
So Chapman and Davis.
Yeah, so Chapman and Ramon Laureano, their center fielder, and then Matt Olson at first base. He's playing real good defense, and he has a lot of power. So they're a good young team, and hopefully they get a new ballpark and keep this team together.
And they're playing so well now. Do you think they played better? Everyone says this at home, of course.
Yeah, at home, of course. But the Oakland Coliseum's a hard place to hit home runs, so they're actually hitting more home runs on the road this year.
Interesting. I've heard that. I've always heard that.
Yeah.
So,
Oakland's kind of a hard place, especially at night when it gets cold. The ball just doesn't travel. And it's kind of a pitcher's ballpark because there's so much foul territory, too. So in other stadiums, you'll hit a foul ball, and it'll go into the ball. It'll be going into the stands. But in Oakland, the infielder or outfielder typically will make a catch on it. So it's more of a pitcher's ballpark.
Now, of our phenomenal wins, our World Series and playoffs, what game stands out to you, being very energetic to watch, fun to watch?
The Finley A's?
Yes.
I would say, yeah. So the 72 team, when they beat the Cincinnati Reds, the big red machine, that team was loaded. Pete Rose, Joe Morgan, Tony Perez, Dave Concepcion, and Johnny Bench, of course. And the A's were going in there without Reggie Jackson because he tore his hamstring still in home base in the playoffs. So the A's were huge underdogs, and their setup man, Darryl Knowles, he was out with an injury too. So the A's were definitely not favored to win that, and they took it to 7 games, and they won it, and then they went on to win 2 more. And even after winning 2, the 74 team faced the Dodgers, and the Dodgers were heavily favored in that one with all their young stars like Steve Garvey and Ron Cey and Don Sutton. But some of the Dodger players said that none of the A's on that team could even make it on our team, with the exception of Reggie Jackson. And then the A's took them down in
less than 7,
5 games. Yeah, 5 games.
It was fast.
They won 7 games against the Mets, but the Dodgers, it only took 5 games.
I know. I thought, why 7 again? It's so, it's so difficult to sit during that 7th game.
Oh, yeah.
It's torture, but it's a nice kind of stress.
Yeah.
So,
well, the longer the series went, they had an advantage because they had 3 great starters, Hall of Famer Catfish Hunter, and then you had Vida Blue and Ken Holtzman. So, and then their bullpen, led by Raleigh Fingers and Darryl Knowles, was one of the best bullpens in that era. So, the longer the series went, the advantage went to the A's.
By the way, I had I got to talk to Raleigh Fingers Wednesday night. Really nice man to talk to. Yes, and always brings back memories. Like when you mentioned the name, I'm thinking, it's just all these guys know their stuff. I remember 75 was. I'll never forget how down our team was when they came back from Boston, and I always thought they needed more than one day to. Yeah. Because it was a lot of that was mental too.
Well, the 75 team was really affected because Catfish Hunter left the team, so they didn't really have a replacement for him. That was a huge loss. You couldn't replace, and then. With Catfish going, Dick Green decided to retire, and he was he was an unsung hero. His fielding was just top notch.
Yeah.
And that really affected the team too. He was pretty much the glue of the infield.
What about the fact that we even got in? I remember being.
Oh yeah, well, Dick Green came up with the Kansas City A's. So.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that was the thing with the way Charlie Finley, he built the team through the farm system. And then he let the players mature, and then he brought in some key veterans. The rest is history. And that's kind of like the Houston Astros are doing nowadays. They had a lot of top draft picks, and then they allow time for the players to develop, and then they hired some key players like Justin Verlander, and then they won the World Series. And the A's are trying to catch up to them.
There is a book. I don't like to plug any book except mine, of course, but there's a book out now called Astro Ball. And
I'm not familiar with that book.
It just came out. I thought they should have waited to see if they did it again, because as I
yeah.
Nowadays, but Astro Ball. I'm Finley Ball. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Nowadays, you win a championship and you cash in. You write a book.
I know. Do you think? I know. Do you think are we going to see the Astros and A's?
Well, I don't know. So the Astros are ahead of the A's by 3.5 games. So they're going to be hard to catch. They won the last 2 games against the Red Sox, who have the best record in baseball. So I'm hoping the A's catch the Astros, because if they do, then they'll avoid the wild card game, which would be a 1-game playoff against the Yankees. And then if they had to go to the wild card, they'd have to play the Yankees, and then they would have to play the Red Sox. So I'd rather see them win the division and then take their chances with Cleveland.
Oh, yeah. Good. I like how you think.
Yeah.
So, what is the order going in? The A's are 3 games out?
A's are they're 3.5 out right now. They're 3.5 out of the first, and they're also 3.5 out of first seed in the wild card. So if the season would end today, they would play a 1-game playoff in New York against the Yankees.
Okay.
So I'm hoping to avoid that simply because I don't want to see them up against the Red Sox. But I think the way these guys are playing, they can beat anybody. So
yes,
I have confidence in this team.
Yes, that's what it takes, and I can tell a lot of people have that confidence. It's something that was missing a few years ago. Justifiably.
Yeah. you got to hand it to the A's though for bringing up some good young talent and keeping Chris Davis on the team. In years past, the guy had a big year, and then he was traded, and the A's ownership has shown a real commitment this year.
Mhm. Yeah. I can feel it, and do you think we're going to be in all the way through October?
Well, I'm hoping. I mean, I definitely see us in the wild card game, unless there's some type of major collapse or some players got injured. But we should at the very least make it to the wild card game.
That's great. I remember, just like you said, the Dodgers did, and in '72 with
the '72 against the Reds.
Right. It's like don't diss on the other team because you never know what will happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in the '72 series, the Reds were pretty much boasting. Johnny Bench was really doing a lot of boasting, and then the A's players, they figured, hey, we got a pretty good team too. They definitely showed it in that series.
Well, they probably just made them angry enough to ban.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what you don't get when you have players who don't really know each other that well and they're new. Yeah. So that's I'm excited. I'm excited of how far we've come, and
definitely.
And I think you said this in the beginning of the season that they had a chance for the wild card, and now look.
Yeah, I mean, they're actually. I mean, to tell you the truth, they're doing better than I thought they were. Too. I mean, I don't think anyone could have predicted how well they're doing right now.
That says a lot. That says a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's. I'm just ecstatic to see it, and I wanted to ask something else about. Someone suggested that Charlie O. the Mule would make a good postage stamp.
Oh yeah, I would like to see that.
Oh, okay, because I thought.
Yeah, they do have.
Mm-hmm. Have you
seen
a mascot on a stamp?
What's that?
Have you ever seen a mascot on a stamp?
No, I have not seen a mascot on a stamp. So that might be a first.
I was researching just to confirm, and it looks like we are the only one who had a live animal mascot.
Yeah, as far as I know, I would agree with that statement.
And the goat doesn't count. It doesn't count because
no.
That
goes in the outfield in Kansas City.
That's right. So, I was just thinking about that. I miss that mule.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people may not know about our mascot. We had a live mule from 1965 until it passed away at the end of '76. Yeah,
that was a real big mule.
Yes, very big. It was more.
It was kind of a fan favorite with the kids too. They would get their picture taken with the mule.
I know. I remember when it would be announced, and it would come out that door and run around a couple of times. Of course, someone would be on its back, but to guide it. And I remember people looked forward to that.
Oh yeah. I remember as a kid.
He was very gentle. Mhm. And I noticed these little things. His hoofs were painted white in Oakland and black in Kansas City.
Oh wow. That's funny. The white shoes, even for the mule.
I know. So, I mean, these are things, I would do in one of those Find the Difference books. I was at an A's game
earlier this year, and they actually had a mural in honor of Charlie O. at the ballpark. There's a smaller mule though. That when they're they did it the same day they were honoring the 1989 team, the World Series.
Oh, real? Oh, okay. Because was it a real mule?
Yeah, it was a real mule.
Okay, because we remember May 26th was when they had a mule come in, and then they had, was that that was the 50th year?
Yeah, that was this year. They had the mule.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
And not as tall. So far, I haven't seen a mule.
No, I think Charlie O was pretty big. Mules are big in general, but he seemed to be bigger than your average mule.
Mhm. Yeah, they're. I think the bigger ones are the most desired, from what I understand. They can just do more. In the old days, they did the work, and people rode the horses.
Oh.
So, but I remember in Kansas City, there was actually a place you could go and pay to be part of a mule team, and it was single file, and they would take you through caverns with lights on the wall. I mean, it was really fun.
Yeah.
But
interesting.
Very mule oriented back there.
I think it's hard for a team to have a live animal, especially a mule.
Oh.
I know Charlie would sneak the mule into hotel rooms, and some of the opposing teams, he took the mule on the road, and he would have to try to sneak the mule into the ballpark. And even once had a fake Charlie outside the ballpark, and then he brought the real mule inside the ballpark in Chicago.
Oh, yes, 60, between 65 and 67. That was the White Sox. He held a protest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. And now out here, we didn't do that as much. We didn't travel except during the World Series and playoffs.
Right.
But I think it was that the mule actually went to Disneyland before any of the Finley kids did. That was touchy.
Yeah, I bet.
I don't know how much Charlie O appreciated that, but he was given the key to cities. I have a picture of him on escalators in hotels. He has a suite in New York with hay on the floor and a lamp.
Yeah.
He was spoiled. And a barber shop, going in for a haircut. It was sort of like people never knew when we took him places up to a bar. People around didn't expect it. So you could see the look on their faces.
Yeah, no one would expect suddenly they got a mule right there.
I know, and in the lunchroom of newspapers, the health department would frown on that now, but
yeah.
But back
so the A's mascot today is a Stomper, so it's a lot easier to have a person in a costume.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Just not as much liability.
Right.
I know our man, Howard Benjamin, who boarded Charlie O in Kansas City, always had a very serious look on his face because he was hoping Charlie O would just stay calm, not get spooked by anything, and very professional because Charlie O just behaved, and if he had to witness a bank loan signature, he did that. I have and all the lights around, the press around him, crowds of people.
Yeah, that could easily spook an animal.
Yes, and Howard knew it, but Howard knew some way to keep him calm and from doing that. So, and then I remember at Howard's, the Kansas City Chiefs had war paint, which was a Pinto horse.
Oh yeah, I used to hate that.
Yes.
They would run. Same with the Denver Broncos. They had a horse, and whenever they would score off the Raiders, the horse would run down the sidelines.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that wasn't a good sight for Raider fans.
Okay, interesting. I remember war paint out here at a Raiders game. Interesting. So we're not the only professional sport with an animal mascot, but the only baseball.
Well, no, that was back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And Charlie had I believe he had the first live mascot, but other teams have had him since. Yeah, so he was more of Charlie was an innovator of a lot of different things in baseball.
He loved animals.
And a lot of, yeah, but he always wanted interleague play, and he was told no, but now, this baseball today is interleague play.
He wanted to play in Japan and was told no.
No, interleague play with the American League against the National League.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something Charlie thought would be good for baseball. And he was told no, they wouldn't do it, but they've been doing it for years now in baseball.
I see so many of his ideas now.
Yeah, that are adopted.
Mhm. And
even even with team uniforms, this about a couple of weeks ago, all the teams in the league had real bright colors on their uniforms and nicknames.
Oh.
And as you know, that's what the A's did in the early 70s.
Yes. Yeah. And the more we won, the brighter our colors became.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I know. Interesting. That's that synesthesia popping back up.
Yes.
That's something for a whole other show. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up now. I wanted to thank you.
Okay.
You have a commitment. I wanted to thank you for being my guest. You know so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Nancy.
Okay.
It was a pleasure being on the show.
Thank you, Rob, and we'll have you again.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.
Okay, bye.
This has been a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.